Life is a game, and a crappy one at that. A girl hands our MC a devastating verdict, having decided to remove him from their party since he can no longer keep up with their battles. The two stand alone at a terrace in downtown Tokyo, where a massive portal floats up in the sky. The girl is Hagane Ko, the leader of the Holy Sword Party who has the role of Valkyrie within the group and is ranked level 254. She addresses our MC, Kageura Keiichiro, the now former Holy Sword Party member who has the job of Trap Master and has only reached level 75. He absent-mindedly acknowledges her words as he stares at the downtown area, reminiscing of when they first arrived in Tokyo and how the 4 original members of the Holy Sword climbed the ranks together right away. Back then he had thought Tokyo would be crawling with monsters, but it turned out to just be another big city, and Ko agrees, referring to the city as a place where both people and fortune gather. She hasn't told their 2 friends about what has just happened, and makes it clear that this was her personal decision. Keiichiro remains silent. The leader has the right to expel anyone, but it usually tarnishes the party's reputation. He apologizes to her, noting he should have been the one to bring this up. But she cuts him short, stating that she knows how bad he is at giving up, having been like that since they were kids. Before leaving to do the paperwork, she informs him that 1/4 of their common assets can be transferred to their account, but he wants none of it. Having caused them trouble, he wants them to use it to equip his replacement instead. After a brief moment of silence, the 2 childhood friends bid each other farewell on good terms. Walking alone down the desolate street, Keiichiro notes to himself that he already knew this would happen. Their last few dungeon expeditions felt like suicide missions, and if they hadn't all helped him out, he would have perished if one of their strong opponent's attacks even grazed him. He just couldn't make up his mind because he was scared of leaving his friends. There is a difference in their talent. People pointed it out his entire life, from the moment he was born to the moment he entered the dungeon. But he wanted to stay with them a little longer, feeling desolate about the way things turned out. And thus, Kageura Keiichiro was expelled from Holy Sword. At a hotel lounge, he notices how quickly gossip has spread, and he overhears people whispering about his sacking, noting that it was a mystery how he ended up in Holy Sword at all. His job of Trap Master is not particularly useful, and Keiichiro doesn't need anyone to tell him how he was dragging his teammates down, knowing it better than anyone else. Lost in his thoughts, he bumps into a girl on the street. He apologizes, but the girl pays him no mind and keeps on walking. Keiichiro deduces she must be a strong adventurer for not even noticing how they bumped into each other. Staring at the sky, he recalls that today marks the 40th anniversary of the day the holes first opened over Tokyo. A news broadcast narrates how at the same time as the holes appeared, some people awakened to abilities, noting it has been a long time since they first referred to people like those girls as adventurers. The broadcast network, The Future of Humanity and Dungeons, then brings a special report concerning Holy Sword, noting they're the first party in Japan to officially conquer 300 dungeons, and that expectations are high for their attempt to clear the Origin Gate, which humanity has yet to clear. The massive gate hovering above downtown Tokyo is one of the 7 legendary first dungeons, but that is no longer Keiichiro's concern. Suddenly he sees something glinting in the Origin Gate, and is horrified when a massive spectral hand covered in targets emerges from the void, and a huge energy spear materializes in its hand. Keiichiro is shocked that no one else can see it, and screams at everyone to run away as the hand throws the spear straight at them, destroying the train in the process. Waking up amidst the rubble, Keiichiro notes that the arm disappeared, wondering if it was an attack from the Origin Gate. Violently coughing up blood, he drags himself forward in a desperate attempt to warn the girls of the Holy Sword before someone else gets hurt. In pain, he asks himself why he couldn't keep up, noting that if he was going to perish anyway, he wanted to stay with them until the end. A girl with white flowing hair and an eerie living dress then appears behind him, lamenting the unsightly state the Chosen One is in, but noting it must be fate since he was able to see what happened. He asks her who she is, but the entity playfully replies that she may be his god or perhaps a demon, her dark patterned eyes shining as she notes that he wants it. Lifting him from the ground with a pair of tendrils, she suggests they begin, and proceeds to kiss him passionately on the mouth. A dark fluid resembling the color pattern of the Origin Gate oozes from her mouth and down his throat, and once she is done, the girl lets him go with a grin. She declares that she has given him power, but does not have any expectations of him, bidding him to live as he pleases. Keiichiro wakes up to find the mysterious girl gone, wondering if it was all just a dream. He realizes that his wounds have healed, and then notices a boy stuck beneath the rubble next to him. He rushes to his aid and attempts to lift the slab of concrete in vain, only to then notice the wall above him begin to crack and give in. In a rush, he opens his status window and desperately searches for a trap that may help him. He then notices an unfamiliar icon dubbed arrow symbol. He didn't have this skill earlier, and judging from the display, he concludes it must be a unique skill. He then remembers the mysterious girl's words, and having no time to dwell upon it, he immediately sets the arrow symbol trap on the concrete slab above the kid and embraces him as the concrete pieces begin to fall. To his surprise, the debris that fall onto the trap are flung at full speed in the direction the arrow is pointing towards, and he cannot help but marvel at this strange new trap. Soon enough, the rescue services arrive at the scene of the collapsed highway. The man in charge thanks Keiichiro for his help with the rescue effort, but is skeptical about his statement that the collapse wasn't an accident, but the result of a gigantic arm striking from the origin gate. He points out the city would be in chaos if something like that emerged from the gate, but nobody saw a thing, and refuses to hear anything further. Furthermore, the man tells him he'll keep it in mind, but reminds him that he is no longer part of Holy Sword, telling him to leave the rest to the ones who will go to the gate. Keiichiro is disappointed by this, but knows that even if the man believed in him, there's nothing they could do against the godlike arm at that moment. Having changed his mind, Keiichiro then heads to a forest near Tokyo. If it is something that could help Holy Sword conquer the Origin Gate, then he will do what it takes. Confronting a boar-like rank D monster known as Melon Board, he is ready to see if he has what it takes to stand beside his friends again. He sets a slash trap on the path of the charging creature, but the beast won't fall for it that easily, dodging the seal without stopping. Trap masters can't attack on their own. They can only earn experience points by making monsters fall for their traps. That's why they're so weak. Keiichiro has faced plenty of monsters like the Melon Board, so he can predict its moves if he stays calm. Standing firm, he lets the creature take the bait before setting the arrow symbol trap up at the last minute. The confused creature sent flying at full speed in the direction the arrow was pointing towards, straight into another slash trap he had set beforehand. Unable to dodge, the creature is torn to shreds. As he watches the Melon Board's body disintegrate, Keiichiro realizes that his new skill can make up for the weaknesses of a trap master. As long as he can touch the monsters, he can force them into his traps. He is still weak, got a slight cut, and is not used to fighting at close range, but it doesn't matter. He finally got what he wanted so desperately. As more Melon Boards appear, he stares at them with a defiance, wanting to become even stronger. Meanwhile, inside a cave, a girl clad in armor is cornered against a wall. She fights desperately against a horde of incoming goblins, refusing to heed the pleas of two men who beg her to leave them behind and escape. The girl stands before the defenseless men, using her shield to block the goblins' attacks. They insist that she flee, but she knows she wouldn't get far against so many foes anyway. Back in the woods, Keiichiro sees energy rising from him, which he recognizes as a signal that he leveled up. It's been a while since he leveled up on his own, having relied on others for far too long. He realizes that he has strayed too far from the area where he had started the fight, but soon hears the unmistakable sounds of battle coming from somewhere deeper in the woods. He rushes towards them. Ever since the first gates appeared in the world, monsters from certain gates have begun slowly invading the world. Reaching the entrance of the cave, Keiichiro continues to hear fighting sounds coming from within, surprised since he thought the area wasn't monitored. All he can hear is weapons clashing against shields, meaning the adventurers must be completely on the defensive and in trouble. He then contacts the Association, not knowing how strong or numerous the attackers are, and fearing he might encounter creatures far stronger than the one he just fought. Keiichiro then thinks of just staying put until reinforcements arrive, but something within him urges him to act as the sound of fighting continues. He knows running away wouldn't be the choice that reunites him with Holy Sword. Not knowing how powerful the monsters may be, he equips full armor despite its weight and steps onto the arrow symbol trap to sprint at full speed into the cave with his sword drawn. Inside, the female adventurer struggles against the onslaught of goblins. The swarm of creatures finally manage to topple her and pin her to the ground, restraining her as one of them prepares to deliver the final blow. Just as she accepts her fate, Keiichiro dashes past her, slicing through the monsters in one fell swoop, coming to a halt between the girl and the remainder of the horde. Without looking back, he offers his assistance, and while the girl takes note of his first-class equipment and uncanny speed, he recognizes her as an adventurer. Keiichiro then explains he's not part of a rescue force and was just leveling nearby, promising not to claim anything other than experience points if she's okay with it. The girl notes that there's no need for that, asking for his help, and the boy's grateful they didn't have to fight over loot, noticing she had been protecting the two civilians behind her on her own. The adventurer introduces herself as Akeno Reize, and Keiichiro reciprocates. Stating she is a paladin, she expresses her desire to leave the offense to him, becoming shocked when he reveals himself to be a trap master. Dashing into combat, Keiichiro instructs her to protect the civilians while he handles the goblins. The creatures don't go down as easily when not caught off guard, blocking his strikes. All he can do is lure them into his traps, but he knows that won't be enough. He will need some kind of technique such as an area of effect attack. He does not know why, but he feels like he can do it, and instinctively proceeds to combine arrow symbol and slash traps in a trap fusion, sending a wave of slashes in every direction and making short work of the goblins. With the threat dealt with, he returns to Akeno and asks if she's alright. The girl is convinced he's a wizard, and finds it hard to believe when he insists he is a trap master, having never heard of a trap master being able to attack like he did. She then becomes baffled when she learns it was his first time doing it as well. The civilians then approach him, but no sooner does he tell them that they need to get out of there, that he senses something in the distance. Akeno asks him what's wrong, and he replies that his experience tells him that when one fights a large group like that, there's always a boss. True enough, stomps echo throughout the cave as a mighty ogre appears. The creature is clearly far stronger than Keiichiro, so he is hesitant about what to do, doubting his traps will even work. Instructing the paladin to get the civilians as far away as possible, he raises his sword against the ogre and dares it to come get him. As the beast roars in fury, Keiichiro knows that this fight will be his real test. Having confirmed that trap masters confuse traps, he proceeds to set a double arrow symbol trap and jumps into it, managing to thrust his sword into the ogre's thigh and dodge its vicious attack. With his defense being paper thin, he knows he'll have to attack from outside the creature's range. He pulls out 3 daggers, knowing they aren't much, but certain they will hurt the monster either way, and he uses 3 arrow symbol traps to launch them at the ogre's other thigh. Keiichiro's plan is to keep whittling the creature down, but seeing it lunging in his direction, he realizes things might not turn out as planned. Having reached the cave's exit, Akeno instructs the civilians to show whatever help may arrive where to go, before turning back to help Keiichiro. Meanwhile, the enraged ogre flings its club at full speed towards Keiichiro, who is unable to dodge. The weapon strikes him, flying upwards as the boy falls back, but he manages to deflect it using an arrow symbol trap as a sort of shield. Seeing the creature has let go of its weapon, he sets a trap combining fire and arrow symbol to send a surge of flames towards the ogre. Akeno arrives just in time to see the creature getting burnt to a crisp. Noting how Keiichiro has both the speed of a rogue and the firepower of a wizard, she is certain he will change the way adventurers see the world. Reize is Japan's biggest adventurer gear brand. Entering the massive store of the Kanazawa branch of the company brings Keiichiro back to the time when he used to use that glow, causing Akeno to thank him for his business. He thought he had heard her name somewhere before, but he never thought the girl he saved was the president's daughter and the manager of the Hokuriku branch. Having a cup of tea, she thanks him for his help the other day, explaining she was there with her team surveying for valuables, but the monsters were nothing like what Intel said. Keiichiro notes that all's well that ends well, wondering what a branch chief was doing on bodyguard duty. She explains she needed to take on that role after sending her subordinates to a dangerous place, especially since she only received her position thanks to her family, causing him to realize she must have been accused of nepotism a lot. The girl then reveals that she didn't invite him there just to thank him. Shifting to discussing business, she offers him to sign a sponsorship contract with her. Keiichiro is hesitant about this, noting he wouldn't look good on a poster, nor does he have any experiences in PR, but she clarifies that she will just be supporting him, and tells him to become the strongest there is. While Keiichiro is rendered silent by this declaration, Akeno continues to state that she considers this to be an investment that will pay off in the future, and she doesn't plan on taking a loss supporting him. Realizing she must want a top ranker like Holy Sword and that she has such high hopes of him, Keiichiro reveals to her that he was expelled from his previous party. When asked for a reason, he merely replies he was too weak, but coldly tells her not to badmouth his former party. Admitting her mistake, Akeno apologizes and admits it's not her place to say anything, but he inwardly recognizes that he overreacted when she was just trying to cheer him up, and that despite his newfound power, he was immature. The girl then goes on to state that she doesn't mind he got expelled, as long as he didn't commit a crime, and she doesn't mind if he's not that strong either, because he will grow stronger. Those words strike a powerful chord in Keiichiro, who resolves to grow stronger both physically and mentally, and with this newfound resolve, he accepts the contract. As an afterthought, Akeno asks which party he used to belong to, becoming utterly baffled when she learns it was none other than Holy Sword. Elsewhere, Holy Sword member Ashitari Yukio sits atop the huge carcass of a slain monster, and wonders if Keiichiro is doing alright. Fellow party member Itomi Kukuri notes that she thinks it is for the best that he's gone, since they couldn't keep exposing him to danger out of their selfish desires, something that Yukio agrees with. They then tell the saddened Ko not to beat herself up over it, certain that Keiichiro understands, and will talk to them just as normal, but the girl doesn't want forgiveness after ending his life as an adventurer. Yukio then suggests that she should have proposed to him as she fired him, noting that it might have unexpectedly gone pretty well if she hadn't tried to smooth it over. And Kukuri throws her own dart, asking her if she is just the kind of annoying woman who's hoping her love interest will notice how she feels on his own. The two members wondered how things ended up like they did, noting it was a good chance for them to hook up, but Ko put the cart before the horse, and Kukuri warns her that though it may only feel like it was yesterday, they may be far apart from Keiichiro soon enough as things unfold. Yukio then mentions rumors about a plan to take on the Origin Gate, and Ko confirms them, revealing that the plan was recently shared with the leaders of the top parties. The planned date for the plan is December of the current year, with an election test to take place in the fall where those powerful enough to join will be recognized and publicly announced. Kukuri considers this to be very sudden, but Ko brings up the mysterious report that the train accident as a probable cause. Turning to her fellow party members, she proposes that they quit adventuring after conquering the Origin Gate, planning to take Keiichiro and move to a country that allows polygamy. The girls are baffled by her bold goal. Meanwhile, Keiichiro reaches a dungeon in a ruined house. There, a woman dressed as a maid introduces herself as Toga Natsume, the person in charge of the dungeon. She informs him that Akeno has transferred the rights of that place to him. He had indeed asked the girl to prepare a low-rank dungeon for him, but didn't think it would come with its own inspector. She politely tells him that as an observer she won't be able to come to his aid, but he already knew that, and the girl wishes him good luck in the dungeon. Once inside, he proceeds to engage in combat with goblins, wanting to confirm the range, cooldown, and other factors as he gives his all to fighting practice. He can use arrow symbol to make himself stronger, and if he can master this, he might be able to fight on par with someone in a fighter-type job. He had never entered a boss room alone before, but as he stands before the massive gates, he thinks of his former comrades and promises to catch up to them. Inside, the B-rank goblin general hurls several chunks of stalactite in Keiichiro's direction, but he deflects them with the arrow symbol trap. The boy cannot get close at all with the general using the entire room as his weapon, but he must somehow manage to close the distance and crush his armor in one hit. Thinking quickly, he uses the arrow symbol trap to jump to the ceiling, and later uses a combined arrow symbol and slash trap to break the stalactites loose and causing them to strike at the boss monster. Seeing his chance, he uses arrow symbol quartet to dart at quadruple speed and slice the boss in half with his sword. As the goblin general's corpse disintegrates, Keiichiro picks up the ring it dropped as a reward, recognizing it as a jewel that enhances fire attribute attacks which he might use to boost his fire trap, deciding to give it to Reizei instead. Seeing him emerge, Natsume welcomes him back, but Keiichiro is surprised when a girl rises from behind her and rushes towards him. excited to see him emerge. As Keiichiro exits the dungeon, he notes he is definitely leveling up little by little, and that he could have earned more in a higher-ranking arena if he had a party. It is at that moment that he runs into the girl outside the dungeon entrance. With eyes sparkling with excitement, she compliments his cloak and how it suits him, noting that it is the first time she has seen something like that and wondering if it is a rare gear drop. Natsume tells the confused Keiichiro that she told her this was a private dungeon, but she refused to listen. But the girl merely declares her curiosity about what kind of people would go into that place. She then introduces herself as Tsukigase Tsukasa, revealing herself to be 14 years old. Keiichiro notes to himself that one doesn't see adventurers that young in Tokyo very often, deducing she must be new, and when the girl asks to trade contact info while noting his strength, he vehemently refuses. When asked why, he replies that he doesn't even know her, and when she reveals herself to be a B-rank assassin, he chastises her for giving out info like that when they're not even planning a raid, noting her poor sense of caution. Only then does it dawn on him that this girl is ranked higher than himself. She begs him to be her partner to go exploring dungeons, and when Keiichiro asks her about her friends and classmates, she replies that they won't go all the way with her since they think the places she wants to explore are too dangerous. Being too skilled for her rank to match others, Tsukasa is the polar opposite of Keiichiro. He wonders why she hasn't tried exploring on her own, and when she admits that being alone feels lonely, he finally relents, telling her not to call all the time, much to her delight. They then exchange contact info, and the girl is excited to go exploring with a trap master for the first time. With that, she merrily goes along her way, telling Keiichiro she will message him later. He feels this girl was like a storm, and considering that he will be meeting more adventurers like that now that he's back in the game, he considers it a good thing that he's not well known outside of Tokyo. Come nightfall, he returns to the Reizei's Kanazawa branch. There, Akeno welcomes him back and asks how the dungeon went, accepting his feedback to get him a dungeon of slightly higher rank the next time. Suddenly, Keiichiro remembers the ring he acquired earlier, and offers it to the girl, who's taken aback by the apparent marriage proposal. Composing herself, she asks him if he's aware of the meaning of a man gifting a ring to a woman, causing him to realize his mistake and apologize, explaining he didn't mean anything by it, and only saw the ring as equipment he got from the dungeon. When asked why he's giving it to her, he tells her that it was a sponsor's gift, but in reality he wanted to share it with her as a memento, since that dungeon run felt like a special first step for him. Sighing, Akeno notes that not much has changed after all, presenting her left hand and inviting him to put the ring on. He obliges, but mistakenly puts it on her left ring finger, once again symbolically proposing to the baffled girl. Alone in his room, Keiichiro is cleaning his equipment when he receives a call from Tsukigase. He reminds her that he told her he was busy, but she had apparently been trying to reach him all day. The girl invites him to join a temporary party with her the next day, explaining that an uncle of hers is putting up a team of adventurers who are around Keiichiro's rank. Though he believes clearing a dungeon with a party would be ideal, he's hesitant about going with random people, and fears they may mock him for his failures. He tells her that the others would probably refuse her entrance if she brought him along, suggesting she join the party on her own, but she insists, noting that the leader was nice and she wants to go with him. Giving in, he suggests they meet the next day, and promises to join if the leader approves, causing her to thank him wholeheartedly. The next day, the leader enthusiastically allows Keiichiro to join. The boy asks if a two-word answer is really enough, but he's fine with it since Tsukigase introduced him. Even if he is a trap master, things would be different if they were in Tokyo, but his job doesn't matter much at their rank. Furthermore, he notes that he appears to be an honest guy, which is the most important trait when trusting someone in the dungeon. Tsukasa then remarks to Keiichiro that they are indeed good people, and they enthusiastically head to the dungeon entrance. As the rest of the party walks past him, the young man then has a strange feeling which he cannot explain nor shake off. Inside the dungeon, the party deals with a wolf monster. Everyone is strong, but Tsukigase is on another level. Her speed is one thing, but she also moves with no wasted movements, and Keiichiro is certain that having that level of control over her body at a young age, she is bound to become a top-tier adventurer. She flings a wolf in his direction, instructing Keiichiro to set up a trap, but he has anticipated this. The creature is slashed instantly. Tsukasa is brimming with energy and excitement, wanting to face the next creature right away, but the other party members ask to be given a break. Seeing everything going so smoothly, Keiichiro wonders if that strange feeling earlier was just his imagination. As they get deeper into the dungeon, Tsukasa notes that they must be close to the boss room. At that moment, the leader of the party notes that it's about time for that too, and proceeds to restrain the girl from behind, taking advantage of the assassin's physical weakness to neutralize her skill. Keiichiro rushes to her aid, but the other two adventurers bar his way, noting he wouldn't be able to stop them even if he tried. It dawns on him that the weird feeling he had earlier was triggered by a sound he heard too many times. The sound of high-ranking gear. He then remarks that the three adventurers are disguising their gear to make it resemble low-level gear, causing their leader to wonder if he has some kind of appraisal skill to be able to tell just by looking at them. With this, Keiichiro confirms the three men are bandits. Tsukasa then realizes that they were these men's targets, and they lured them by pretending to be at their level, while Keiichiro deduces from their movements that the men are clearly not C-rank and have high-ranking gear. He asks them how many people they slayed to obtain the gear, and the leader points out that he also let his guard down too. Not that a trap master could do anything anyway. When Tsukasa comments on their apparent kindness, the man bursts into laughter, cruelly declaring that none would team up with her if she didn't have rare gear, and accusing her of looking down on people due to her higher rank. He had panicked when he learned she would be bringing someone else, fearing it would be another high ranker, but was glad it turned out to be a trap master instead. Defeated, Tsukasa tells Keiichiro to run, stating that she will be fine since she is strong. He must warn the others outside. The bandits then mock him, noting he can't escape and will perish there as well, and that it is all her fault, causing her to break and apologize, having thought that maybe she wouldn't be alone anymore, only to end up like this. Steeling himself, Keiichiro declares he has no intention of running, since the path he's aiming for doesn't allow him to ignore trash like the bandits. The leader of the bandits demands that Keiichiro repeat what he said, and becomes enraged when he once again calls him ignorable trash. He orders his subordinates to slay the insolent trap master, but the young man set an arrow sigil trap on his sword and uses it as a shield to block the first bandit's strike. He then presses the trap onto the man's chest, sending him flying into the air, falling right into a flame trap that burns him to a crisp. Keiichiro then rushes towards his next opponent, using the arrow symbol trap to send his 3 daggers right at the man's chest and leaving him in agony. He then calmly tells the leader that he was too slow in waiting to react until after he moved, noting he is just a C-ranker, regardless of how much rare gear he puts on. Cursing, the leader tosses Tsukasa aside and pulls out a cleaver. Realizing he will be done for if he touches the arrow symbol, he then tosses a flashbang at Keiichiro and attempts to strike him. However, the trap master easily blocks the attack with an arrow symbol, and then uses it to send the leader flying backwards. He then explains that having fought in sandstorms and underwater before, he won't leave any openings even when stunned. The bandit is furious at his perceived mockery, telling him to watch closely as he ends him and strips him of all his gear. He then points to all of his ill-gotten gear, claiming he took it from those who mocked them, and that slaying them is how he got strong. When Keiichiro remarks that gear is not his strength, the bandit furiously claims that the ones who survive are the strong ones, and that he is thus the strongest for beating the high rankers. The trapmaster merely remarks that he lost to his weakness of the heart, and when the bandit leader charges straight at him, he uses the arrow symbol to strike him with a single, devastating blow. As the bandit falls to the ground, he thinks on how the things they grew up hearing were probably similar, concerning how honesty is the most important trait one needs to entrust one's back to someone in a dungeon. Even if it was a bluff, that same premise saved Keiichiro and Tsukasa. He then puts the assassin to rest inside a tent made of camouflaged cloth and informs her that he has called for backup. None of the monsters showed up, and the girl is feeling fine now, and the tent allowed them to conceal everyone until help arrived and carried the still-living bandits into custody. Tsukasa then apologizes to Keiichiro, but far from being angry at getting dragged into the situation, he's glad she invited him. With their party having gone from 5 to 2 members, he's about to call it a day, but the girl suggests that they keep going until they cannot progress any further. Not wanting to end the day on a bad note, glad to see her spirit is still intact, he agrees to run the dungeon with her, and they get it underway. Hidden behind a tree, the versatile Natsume watches them from a distance. She was ready to jump in if anything happened, but seeing that there was no need to worry, she heads off to file her report. As Keiichiro and Tsukasa continue to cut their way through the dungeon, the girl asks him about the arrow symbol, and he admits that he kept this ability secret at first just in case. She asks if it's okay for him to show it to her, asking if he has fallen for her, and he jokingly replies that it slipped. They eventually reach the boss room, and once inside, Tsukasa is surprised to see that the scenery has remained unchanged and the boss is nowhere to be seen. But Keiichiro warns her against letting their guard down. Sensing the incoming danger, they quickly dodge a strike from an invisible foe, alarmed at not sensing the attacker despite being on alert the whole time. Analyzing the situation, Keiichiro concludes they're dealing with a wolf-type monster with stealth skills. This is confirmed by the creature howling for reinforcements. The lesser wolf monsters soon arrive, ready to do their master's hunting while he hides. And faced with the prospect of an endless stream of creatures, the two adventurers conclude that the only way to prevail is finding the stealthed wolf and taking it out. They then dispatch the first pack of 10 wolves, but as more creatures begin to appear, they confirm that it is indeed infinite spawning. Keiichiro finds it hard to react to the boss while it blends with the pack, and Tsukasa realizes that it might even be far away, making it impossible for them to search for it. The Trapmaster then asks the girl to hold the pack off on her own for 10 seconds as he heads into the woods and cuts down several trees combining arrow symbol and slash. Tsukasa pushes herself to the limit, fighting at even faster speeds, until Keiichiro warns her to take cover as he sends the tree trunks flying at full speed. With most of the pack gone, the girl can now focus on tracking the stealth wolf's howl, certain she will hear it for sure before it reveals its position. But the beast proves faster. She is barely able to sense the creature before it strikes her in the back and sends her flying, with Keiichiro cushioning her fall. He praises her for her resilience, and when she laments that they lost track of its location again, he confidently declares that he has a plan. Tsukasa's having so much fun fighting alongside Keiichiro that it almost feels like love, and is amazed at seeing the real man. Bedazzled, she asks if he will officially team up with her. Not once has Keiichiro thought about a party other than Holy Sword. When Tsukasa asks him to team up officially, he hesitates, telling her that he appreciates the offer and asks for some time to think about it, as he turns his attention to dealing with the stealth wolf. The girl cannot see the monster, but the Trapmaster reassures her that he knows where to find it, but he'll need her help. She grins upon hearing the entire plan, and he once again notes that he is counting on her to win the upcoming fight. The two adventurers then ready their weapons as they feel the stealth wolf circling them. The creature inadvertently steps on one of the twigs Keiichiro spread around them, revealing its position and falling into the trap. As it attempts to flee, the Trapmaster uses a quadruple arrow symbol to propel Tsukasa in its direction at full speed. Keiichiro can barely see the creature, but it is certain that the assassin will hit her mark. In one swift strike, she succeeds in dispatching the creature, and as the Trapmaster approaches her in celebration, the clear gate opens before her. Having never cleared such a high-level gate before, the girl thanks him. Back at the Reizei building, they tell Akeno what happened. Keiichiro is surprised to see Natsume serving them tea, but she explains that when she's not working as an observer, she works as a maid. The Trapmaster then recalls inwardly that he thought it was strange she wasn't wearing an observer's uniform, and as if reading his thoughts, the maid asks if he thought she was wearing the outfit as a hobby. Sensing Tsukasa's unease, he asks her if she is nervous, but the girl asks him if he gets along with everyone there, and once again asks if he will form a party with her. He apologizes for making her wait so long, and after a pause, he tells her of his ultimate goal of returning to his original party, stating that he doesn't plan on forming an official party. Akeno then joins in, noting that forming a party would have many benefits, such as allowing him to level up more effectively and refine his coordination with others, as well as learn how to best use skills designed for team combat. She then remarks that if his goal is to rejoin Holy Sword, then Tsukasa's offer is nothing but beneficial, causing the assassin to stare at him in awe. Keiichiro then asks Akeno if she wants him to take advantage of the girl's kindness, knowing that he will eventually leave her, but she states that she doesn't mind, and would gladly accept it if that's the only way they can party up, not wanting to miss the chance to team up with him over something so trivial. Surprised, the Trapmaster admits to himself that he always learns from others, before declaring that if he had to form a party with anyone other than Holy Sword, then he would like to team up with Tsukasa. She then declares that she would gladly join him, urging him to fulfill his dream for her. Keiichiro then asks Akeno to join as well, trying to let go of his reservations. And with Tsukasa's approval, the girl agrees to join them as the party's tank. This feels like a dream come true for the assassin, and when Akeno asks for the party's name for the paperwork, she suggests Keiichiro should be the one to name it. After some thought, he settles on the name Vestage. Though he knows chasing the past is embarrassing, this is his biggest motivation right now, and the others immediately accept the name. With the party formed, Tsukasa asks Akeno to exchange contact information as friends, and the paladin is shocked to see that the assassin is actually male. Having fallen for the ultimate trap, the girl screams in surprise, while Tsukasa laughs, and the trap master, who true to his job knew the truth, joins in the joke. Elsewhere in Tokyo, at the entrance of a dungeon, Yukio receives a report from Natsume concerning the creation of Keiichiro's new party. The maid is revealed to be an old acquaintance of the adventurer, doing this behind her lady's back, but notes that the trap master is a pretty interesting childhood friend. Yukio asks her to keep watching him before ending the call. As she enters the dungeon, she thinks of how lucky she was to find Keiichiro through her connections, considering him an irresistibly cute idiot. Taking a glance at the menacing dungeon, she remarks inwardly that from what she heard, he is still not good for that place, proceeding to destroy 2 bird monsters with a Hand of the Death God attack. Coldly, she reasons that if Keiichiro is chasing after them, they will just have to finish the dungeon before catching up. She tells her fellow party members that the path is safe, keeping her knowledge about Keiichiro secret out of fear that Ko might lose her edge if she knew, and the party moves forward. That night, Tsukasa is excited at the party's first event, and Keiichiro praises his dress. The assassin points out that he seems a little restless, but the trapmaster excuses himself, noting that he has always been bad with the neckties. Being as ready as can be, the two join Akeno, who is equally finely dressed, and the 3 head into a ballroom to what Keiichiro calls Vestage's first battle. Raid battles are when multiple parties team up to challenge a difficult dungeon with a large party. Tsukasa is amazed at the lavish party being thrown, and asks Keiichiro if they take place often, with the trapmaster noting that they're mostly held as a special thanks to the leaders of the raid. At that moment, a finely dressed girl welcomes those present. She is this raid's organizer, Kiryu Jessica, and though she is pretty young and has foreign lady vibes, Akeno notes that she's actually a witch with good prospects, and her father is the employer for this raid. They will sponsor and pay the other adventurers, since they are after the achievement of clearing a high-rank dungeon, and the high number of people in a raid would allow them to smuggle 1 or 2 newbies through the ordeal when surrounded by capable allies. Keiichiro explains that this time they are paying extraordinarily well to gather more capable adventurers than usual so Jessica can get her achievement. The adventurers will not only get experience in a higher rank area, but a reward as well, making it a win-win for everyone. Tsukasa notes that this feels kind of unfair, but Keiichiro is in no place to say anything after being carried by Japan's top party for years. It was he who asked Akeno if she could have them participate in the raid when she went to register Vestage. Jessica goes on to state that it is an honor to meet so many excellent adventurers, but they ended up recruiting more people than they planned. She then announces that they will hold a selection test for the members of the raid the next day, which will consist of a series of duels to determine the 20 adventurers who will be accepted into the raid. Tsukasa is shocked at the sudden development, and though Keiichiro assures her it's a common occurrence, he rushes to eat as much as he can while he still has the chance. Meanwhile, Akeno heads off to do some greetings. As he stands alone in the crowded ballroom, Keiichiro cannot help but feel nostalgic, even if he left all the social interaction to Ko when he was still in Holy Sword. He thinks his expulsion from the party might end up causing trouble, but all he can do is hope nobody knows about it. He then notices a girl in a student uniform who is afraid of not being able to join the raid, surprised to see another adventurer as young as Tsukasa. The nervous girl tips a plate over as she turns around, and when Keiichiro reaches to get it, the two accidentally bump heads, though he manages to catch the plate before it lands. The girl then apologizes, but the trapmaster insists that she calm down, asking what got her so panicked just then. She then manages to tell him that she is a wizard and really needs to join the raid, but she's bad at duels. Keiichiro understands her plight, being all too aware that many rear guards such as himself are bad at duels. But he reassures her that it is not like they send all the losers home. He explains that the organizer wants the most suitable members for the raid, and thus she can join even if she loses, as long as she shows off her abilities. Noting that she should be paired up with someone with whom she can really show what she can do, he tells her not to panic so much and to just put on a good show at the trials as he hands her the plate back. This calms the girl down, and though he reassures her some more, he is well aware that a C-rank trap master like him practically has to win to be accepted. Elsewhere in the room, Akeno congratulates Jessica on organizing the event. The witch is overjoyed that she is joining, noting she is her only friend there, and the paladin replies there's no way she wouldn't be there when it was her time to be in the spotlight. Noting her trembling hands, she asks Jessica if she's scared, but the girl's insecurities come to light when she interprets this as Akeno treating her as a child, and remarks that her father will leave the company to her after the raid, which will make them equals. Seeing Keiichiro ready, the witch notes that she accepted him on Akeno's recommendation, but nonetheless asks her if she is certain about having a trap master join the raid. Seizing the opportunity, the paladin notes that Jessica is still a kid, since she doesn't understand how much Keiichiro is worth, causing her to become flustered. The next day, Keiichiro is proclaimed as the winner, as Jessica watches in disbelief. Though he had to use the arrow symbol in the end, he tried to use it secretly, and hoped nobody noticed. While the loser's teammates lash out at the man for losing to a trap master, Jessica begrudgingly admits that Keiichiro is not half bad, but the raid commander Hyodo is far more curious about his strange attack. Tsukasa then approaches Keiichiro, asking for praise after winning easily, and they both head to the arena to cheer for Akeno in her upcoming match. The assassin has not had a chance to see the paladin fight, and even the trap master only saw her briefly, so they're both curious. They are surprised to find their friend facing off against a wizard, guessing it will be a contest of strength, but Keiichiro is shocked to realize that Akeno's opponent is none other than the girl he met the previous evening. Remembering Keiichiro's advice, she raises her bow and draws its string, concentrating a huge amount of power in the shape of an arrow. The crowd is amazed by this, with Tsukasa wondering if Akeno can even block that attack, and Keiichiro realizes he gave some unnecessary advice. The paladin is certain she could dodge the attack, but instead raises her shield to show those present the dignity of a tank by taking the blast head-on. When the dust settles, the crowd roars as they realize Akeno has blocked the attack and is still standing. The two contestants then charge at each other, ready to engage in close quarters combat, but the referee tells them to stop as the raid commander confirms they have both passed. Tsukasa is amazed that this display of power was all it took for them to pass, but the more seasoned Keiichiro notes that it could have turned nasty quickly had they continued. They had already shown more than enough to pass. Exiting the showers, Keiichiro runs into the girl once more. She thanks him for his advice, noting that thanks to it she wasn't nervous during the test, and the trap master in turn remarks he had no idea she was that strong, feeling reassured by having such a powerful ally in the dungeon, and glad that she was able to show her power off. The girl nervously introduces herself as Yusui Toru, and rummages through her bag to give him something in thanks. He replies there's no need for it, but then notices the handbag is covered in pins depicting his former Holy Sword companion, Yukio, causing him to refer to her as Yuko in surprise. Hearing this, Toru becomes tense and declares that he cannot call Yukio that way, pulling out a book which turns out to be a special report on Holy Sword, and explaining that Yuko is her special nickname, which only her close friends get to use. She is surprised that he even knows of that nickname, but angrily notes that as fans, they should respect the wishes of their idols, so he cannot call her that. Shocked, Keiichiro realizes that this girl is a huge fan of Yuko and the Holy Sword. Earlier, when he told his companions of his past, Tsukasa was surprised to learn that he was a member of Holy Sword. He explained that Ko was the one who handled all of the media stuff, and Akeno confirmed that hers was the only name she knew. Keiichiro believed that as long as they didn't directly interact with the party in Tokyo, people should only know about Yukio and Kukuri at most, since those two were first-rate users with famous jobs. He was relieved by this, since he wouldn't be able to take it if all of Japan criticized him for riding their coattails. Cornered by Toru for referring to Yukio as Yuko, Keiichiro inadvertently gives himself away by stating that it was the nickname he gave her himself, so it became a habit. The girl catches on that detail, and even the sudden arrival of Tsukasa cannot defuse the situation. Staring at him with awe, Toru reveals that she had heard Yuko was a nickname given to Yukio by a childhood friend. She thought it was just a rumor since it wasn't mentioned in any of the interviews, and was only told by a fan who met her in person. This fan revealed the existence of a phantom fourth member of Holy Sword, Keichiro. The Trap Master would wish she didn't give him such an embarrassing title, but he begrudgingly admits that there are some circumstances, revealing he was expelled from the party. The wizard is shocked to hear this, pointing out that it would have been a scandal for Holy Sword. This causes Keichiro to become depressed all of a sudden. Akeno then arrives on scene, mistakenly believing that Keichiro is trying to win Toru over, but Tsukasa bluntly explains no, he's being exposed. The Trap Master cannot deny being expelled, but he would like to avoid trouble for the time being, not wishing to cause his former party any more problems. He asks the wizard to keep quiet about this, and she correctly deduces that people would not leave him alone if they learned he was a former member of Holy Sword, agreeing to keep his secret. She then nervously asks him if he has a picture with Yukio, and he quickly pulls out his phone and starts browsing. Back at the hotel's lobby, Toru is elated at seeing a picture of her hero as a child. Though Keichiro had heard that his 3 former companions had some pretty crazy fans, it feels weird to meet one in person. This is Tsukasa's first time sleeping in a hotel near a dungeon, deducing it must cost a lot of money. But Akeno explains that the hotel is owned by the Kiryuin family, and they're more accommodating than one would think at first. These kinds of preparations are part of Jessica's studies, and her friend believes she has personally arranged for everything. 2 fellow adventurers then approach the group, catching a glimpse of Yukio's picture on Keichiro's phone. But Toru manages to dodge the bullet, stating she's trying to convert him into a fan, showing her Yukio handbag as proof of her devotion. Tsukasa then advises them to stop there for the day, else they get exposed again, and the Trap Master thanks the wizard for the rescue. The assassin then enthusiastically tells the girl to talk with them as well, since she guesses they're about the same age, and they confirm that they both turned 14 that year. Toru then tells Akeno that she always works alone, since she usually lives far away and only joins up when there are big raids like the one they've signed up for. Tsukasa remarks on how the girl takes the work seriously despite her youth, and Keichiro notes that the high-rank areas like the one they're headed to are fraught with danger. But the girl declares that she must find the dungeon drop called the Blue Elixir no matter what. The seasoned Trap Master recognizes this as a rare drop, and Akeno remarks that the cheapest it has been sold for on the market is 1 billion yen. They realize that her desperate quest for the elixir means there is someone close to Toru who is sick. The girl reveals that her mother is so ill she can't even walk around anymore, and there's nothing else that can be done with this world's technology. Though the wizard has been saving money, getting the drop would be best, and it dawns on Keichiro that was the reason she wanted to join the raid no matter what. Thanking him, Toru bids him goodnight and departs, leaving Tsukasa and Keichiro to muse on how there's all kinds of adventurers out there. Seeing how Yukio continues to inspire and save people even in places like this, the Trap Master is even more determined not to fall behind, and encourages his companions to do their very best the next day. The next morning, the raid commander announces to the assembled adventurers the beginning of the raid battle as they cross the portal into the dungeon. They first pass through a desert area dotted with pyramids, where they are beset upon by creatures known as Statues of Heaven's Fall, Murder Mobius, and Whispering Maris. Everyone does their part in the raid party, with the tanks holding off the monsters while Keichiro sets up the traps and the priests heal the wounded. Things seem to be going smoothly, with some beginning to think that this might be an easy raid, but the Trap Master cannot help but feel uneasy at the strange array of monsters they just faced. Standing behind the front line, Tsukasa is all too eager to fight, but Akeno explains that the plan is to have the advance party deal with the threats until they reach the boss's room, telling him that they should prepare themselves since they are in the main group that will be in charge of the final battle. The raid commander tells Keichiro to slow down and save some strength for the boss, and when the Trap Master replies that he's not in the main group, he bluntly tells him not to play dumb, since he's actually strong. He doesn't mind his hiding the fact, since adventurers always hide their trump cards, but he does plan to put Keichiro to good use, and would have him placed in the main group if he hadn't registered as a Trap Master. Seeing how highly the raid commander values him, the Trap Master asks him to start the fight in the boss's room, deploying the tanks of the main group on the front line. Noting that it is standard procedure to have the advance party take the first few hits to see what they're dealing with, the man asks him why he would suggest such a strategy. Keichiro admits he has a bad feeling. pointing out that dungeons normally have a theme to them to some extent, but he can't find any common points between the monsters they've faced thus far. Since he cannot predict what kind of boss they will face, he fears the battle might turn out really badly. Pondering this, the raid commander admits he does have a point, but he cannot agree to the request with Jessica being in the party, reasoning that the unpredictable situation is just more reason to keep the main tanks in reserve. Keiichiro realizes that Hyodo is prioritizing the safety of his employer, which isn't unreasonable, but he cannot shake the feeling that he is overlooking something, struggling to find what it might be. He is pulled from his thoughts, however, when an adventurer informs they have found the boss room. Passing through the gates, the raid party finds itself in a massive cavern. Tsukasa finds the place scary, and Keiichiro notes that he wouldn't see something like that in areas he would go to alone. The adventurers are on alert, not knowing where the boss might be lurking, but one of the tanks suddenly looks up and is confronted by the sight of a massive praying mantis-type monster perched on the ceiling. The adventurers begin to scramble into formation, but Keiichiro senses the impending danger, urging the others to dodge when the boss makes its first strike with its scythed claws. Too slow to react, the tank is sliced in half, shield and all, in front of a shocked Jessica and the remainder of the party. Keiichiro is hard on himself for not realizing it sooner. All of the monsters they faced earlier possess incredible attack power, meaning that the boss is equally attack-oriented. Traumatized by the sudden demise of the tank, the other adventurers begin to scream in shock. The raid commander issues a retreat, only to realize that the boss has blocked the exit with its secretions. He then tells everyone to get back as the creature prepares to strike again. Keiichiro approaches Akeno, taking charge and telling her to step forward. He explains to the commander that they're dealing with a death mantis that attacks nearby opponents with its blades, but it will strike randomly if no one is within range. Lacking sufficient tanks to defend everyone, he knows many will perish if they don't act. Before they can act, though, they're beset upon by the boss's children, who attempt to swarm the survivors. The original strategy for defeating the death mantis is to have 2 tanks, each occupying one of the creature's sickles, while the others get into formation behind them. But with one tank down, they lack enough tanks to pull it off. Stepping up, Keiichiro activates the arrow symbol and declares he'll take care of one of the sides, warning Akeno that he cannot guarantee that her shield can withstand the creature's incredibly high attack power, before asking her to join in. Accepting to follow his lead, the paladin is about to step forward when the terrified Jessica holds her back, sobbing, as she fears she might perish as well. Smiling warmly, Akeno replies there are times when a lady must act, before heading off. Getting into position, Keiichiro taunts the death mantis and parries its strike with his sword covered by the arrow symbol. Meanwhile, Akeno tanks the attack from the other scythe. The creature's attack power is the highest among A-rank bosses, and the Trap Master knows he's done for if he fails to dodge even a single strike. The other adventurers are awestruck by their resilience, and one of them signals those who can strike from a distance to support them, having newfound confidence that they will somehow pull through. Seeing the battle unfolding, Hyodo orders all priests to keep healing the combatants no matter what, but as Keiichiro and Akeno barely manage to hold out against the boss's strikes, the other adventurers realize they won't last like that. Tsukasa then steps in, latching a grappling hook onto the creature's face and using it to swing around, distracting it and causing it to redirect its attack. Though he dodges the strike, it still manages to sever his rope, causing him to fall to the ground amidst the smaller creatures. He is then rescued at the last second by Toru, who pushes him to safety while the other adventurers deal with the monsters. Grateful, Tsukasa is shocked to realize the wizard has used stealth to save him, and even Keiichiro is surprised to realize she has an assassin-type skill, never having heard of something like that before, and wondering if it's due to how she looks up to Yukio. Thinking quickly, he tells Toru that he will stop its arms for a moment, asking if she can close in and fire a spell from inside its shell if given a window. The other adventurers are shocked by this bold strategy and the risk it entails, but the wizard agrees, stating her full trust in Keiichiro, activating her stealth skill. 2 more adventurers step forward to help the Trap Master, and when the creature attacks, they all strike at the scythe, with Keiichiro using a quadruple arrow symbol to deliver a powerful blow and pinning it down. This provides Toru the window she needs to fire a magic arrow straight at the appendage, tearing it off. Seeing the scythe fall, the other adventurers regain their courage as they see victory within their grasps, confident that they only have to deal with the other arm to win. But they then see Akeno's shield shatter from another strike, The paladin lies helpless as the death mantis prepares to strike once more, and when Keiichiro attempts to go to her aid, he finds himself unable to set any more traps, being at his limit. Both him and Tsukasa watch on helplessly as the scythe descends and a massive surge of energy is released. As the flash vanishes, everyone sees the frightened yet determined Jessica standing between her friend and the death mantis, her magic staff raised as she blocks the creature's attack. With tears running down her cheeks, she defiantly declares she won't let any more perish, letting out a deafening cry as she unleashes all her power until her staff shatters. Jessica's valiant stand succeeds in deflecting the death mantis's attack. Seizing this chance, Tsukasa darts towards the creature's remaining scythe and uses Shadow Stitch to pin it to the ground for a moment, giving Toru the window she needs to strike at it from behind its shell. The wizard draws her bow, using the last of her mana and hoping the attack will be enough to succeed. The magical explosion sends her reeling back, but it succeeds in tearing off the last scythe from the death mantis. Seeing this, the remaining adventurers rush the creature and fire at it with all they have. Keiichiro then reaches Akeno, concerned for her safety, and relieved to see that she is still standing. The paladin then turns to Jessica, thanking the girl for saving her. The other adventurers step forward, telling the exhausted girls that they can now step back while they finish mopping up the monsters. But they're interrupted when the death mantis's body unexpectedly detaches and falls to the ground. The confused adventurers wonder aloud if they've defeated the monster. But this hope is short-lived, as the smaller creatures begin to devour the carcass in a gruesome spectacle. With shock, Keiichiro realizes they're consuming their parent to turn into adults. Seeing this, the raid commander urges everyone not to falter, pointing out that they can defeat them all before they grow up and ordering everyone to charge. Soon, the entire party erupts in a frenzy of violence as they fight for their own survival. Struggling to stand up, Akeno notes that they cannot stay back after all, drawing her sword as she prepares to rejoin the fray for as long as she can, with Jessica following suit with her spare wand. Toru then approaches Keiichiro, asking if he is out of mana. When he confirms this, she proceeds to transfer what little mana she has left to him, so he can carry out one final attack. With this final shot, the Trap Master charges towards the nearest mantis. He cannot defend himself with the arrow symbol any longer, but he charges nonetheless, determined to make it count. With a roar, he thrusts his sword straight into the monster's forehead with all his strength, slaying it with a single thrust. One of the agitated adventurers then looks around, searching for the rest of the monsters, only to see the exit gate materialize behind him. Realizing that their ordeal is finally over, the exhausted members of the raid cheer and celebrate. Once outside, they muse on how they made it back home alive, but this is not time for a celebration. As the braziers are lit, the surviving members of the raiding party hold a funeral for their slain comrade, placing ash on their right hand as a sign of respect. An adventurer approaches Keiichiro, remarking it was a good thing that he was there, and stating that after carrying their fallen comrade back, they can return him to his family, which is the last thing they can offer an adventurer. The Trap Master is riddled with guilt, being the only one in the party who knew of the Death Mantis. He laments not noticing the dungeon's theme sooner, inwardly regretting not having the courage to say he used to be in Holy Sword, but does not know for sure if anything would have changed. The other adventurer comforts him, noting that everyone did what they could back then, and that the only one who could change anything would be God. Despite this, Keiichiro is convinced that the members of Holy Sword would have been able to do something on their own, and they wouldn't have put their party members in so much danger. He, on the other hand, could have let something unforgivable happen to the members of Vestage, since he is weak. He is wondering what he should do to catch up to them when he notices a floating origami right next to him. Following its flight path, he is surprised to see it belongs to his former companion, Kukuri. The girl tells him to remain silent, remarking that he seems to be having trouble with something, and offering to talk in a more secluded place. Some distance from the raid party, she comments on the adventurer's passing, noting that she can never get used to it regardless of how often she experiences it, also pointing out that Keiichiro doesn't seem to be feeling well either. Not having seen Kukuri since he was fired from Holy Sword, he apologizes for leaving without saying goodbye. Smiling, she states that she is still really mad about that, noting that he seems to have had the wrong idea or may have found the farewell too awkward for him, but he remains silent. Not having much time left, she cuts to the chase and informs Keiichiro that the first attempt on the Origin Gate will be made that winter. The Trap Master is shocked by this revelation, but the girl goes on to inform him that a selection test will be held in the fall to determine which parties will follow and support Holy Sword. Only A-rank parties are allowed to participate, so Kukuri tells Keiichiro to hurry if he wants to try. Having sneaked out to meet him, the girl tells the Trap Master that she must depart before the other members of Holy Sword find out. He asks why she told him that, and after a pause, she admits that she wonders about that herself. He replies that she wants him to stay safe, or at least she thought she would, but in truth, she became incredibly happy when she heard that he was working so hard. Before she leaves, Keiichiro gathers his courage and apologizes for not meeting her, admitting that he was scared to face her and declaring he won't run away anymore. Confident, he promises to become strong enough to stand by her side once again. She smiles at this, noting how he is cheered up. She tells him she is glad she got to see him and is looking forward to their next encounter. Watching this reunion unfold from the Origin Gate, the mysterious entity that gave Keiichiro his special powers smiles, having a liking for kids who don't know when to give up. Staring at the Trap Master, she wonders if it is about time for the next one. Keiichiro ended up resting for 2 full days after the raid. Getting up on the 3rd day, he meets up with Akeno and Natsume. The maid asks him if he's feeling better, having healed him with the help of magic, and the Trap Master wonders why being healed with healing magic makes one feel tired. Natsume notes that Akeno was also very tired after the expedition, but Keiichiro finds it hard to believe given her fresh appearance, and the girl merely states she won't show weakness so easily as she sips her tea. With things having calmed down, the Trap Master tells Akeno that there is something he would like to talk with her about. He would like for Tsukasa to join as well, but is unsure if he's awake, and since the girl doesn't know either, she finds it a little worrying. Natsume remarks it was the first time he experienced someone on his team perishing, and Akeno admits that though it is unavoidable if one stays in this business long enough, it is still hard. Sometime later, they decide to pay Tsukasa a visit in his hometown, much to his delight. Keiichiro asks him how he feels, telling him not to force himself, recalling that he was stuck in bed for days when it first happened to him, though admitting it might not be comparable. But the assassin insists that he's fine. Sitting over coffee, the Trap Master tells his fellow party members of the upcoming attempt to conquer the Origin Gate. Tsukasa finds it hard to believe, comparing it to something one would see in textbooks, and Akeno explains that nobody even considered going there until the incredible top party Holy Sword appeared, their dream being to conquer the gate. Keiichiro wants to be there by their side when they challenge their ultimate ambition, no matter what, and Tsukasa comforts him, stating that he can fulfill his wish if their party gets selected to fight by their side. Contemplating this, he tells his companions that if Vestage gets selected as a participant, they will not only have to go to Tokyo, but into the Origin Gate itself, which will be more dangerous than anything they have faced. Since the last expedition was a reminder that delving into dungeons means risking one's life, he wants them to think about it and decide whether they'll continue down this path or look elsewhere. Even though they have just formed Vestige, he is aware that their answer will determine whether the party gets disbanded then and there. After a moment of silence, Tsukasa declares that he will go, reminding him of a promise that they would see much of the world of adventurers together, and declaring he won't back down at a time like this. Meanwhile, Akeno comments that the conquest of the Origin Gate could go down in history and will be an extraordinary opportunity for the Reise family. She recalls that she saw something in him when she chose to sponsor him, and thinks it's a gamble worth taking, so she proposes they take it together. Keiichiro then thanks them for their support, promising that he will not let anyone perish despite the dangers ahead. Moving on, Akeno points out that their current goal is to become an A-rank party. For that to happen, Keiichiro must first become an A-rank adventurer, and the party needs to have a record of clearing a high-rank dungeon. Tsukasa wonders if they can clear such a dungeon with just 3 people, and the Trap Master admits that it will be difficult, because clearing one with a full raid like they did recently is one thing, but to clear it with an orthodox party composition, Keiichiro would like 1 or more members to join. They are in particular need of a rear guard, and since they're planning to go to the Origin Gate, it can't just be anyone. As they stare at each other, there's one girl who springs to mind, and they all mention Toru in unison. Meanwhile, the wizard calls Hyodo and thanks him for the list of dropped items, inwardly lamenting that the blue elixir wasn't there this time either. She also thanks him for the invitation, especially since she doesn't get many chances to join such big events, to which he replies that they're always glad to have strong adventurers on board. When she hopes to be contacted for the next event, he reveals that the members of Vestage wanted to meet her, and she allows him to give them her address and phone number, as well as the hospital she's staying at if it's urgent. Hanging up, she wonders what they will want with her when her uncle approaches her. He tells her that her mother has just fallen asleep and seemed to be in pretty good health that day, and she asks him to continue looking after her, since she will go back to search for another high-rank dungeon as soon as possible. With a weary face, the man tells his niece that he believes it is time she quit being an adventurer. Having heard that someone perished on her mission again, he apologizes for putting her into harm's way for his younger sister's sake, noting that at her age, she should be hanging out with her friends instead of fighting as an adventurer and suffering. This strikes a deep chord in Toru, who apologizes to her uncle and makes a run for it. At that precise instant, the members of Vestige arrive at the hospital's entrance, and Toru begs them to let her into the car as she continues to escape her uncle. As they make their escape, Keiichiro asks if she is sure about running away, and she replies that she will talk to her uncle properly next time, believing he'll understand since he's a good person. They stop at an overlook by the road. This is where Keiichiro briefs Toru on the attempt to conquer the Origin Gate, telling her to take her time to think about all that he has said. Staring at her onigiri, she tells him that her father made him, revealing that he takes care of all of the housework, works long hours every day, and loves her mother. She doesn't think of diving into dungeons and adventuring as some kind of misfortune, since it might allow her to save her mother, and she will gladly accept any help in doing so. Turning to face Keiichiro, she asks to be allowed to join Vestige, be it at the Origin Gate, the dungeons of Tokyo, or wherever she might be able to find an elixir. Keiichiro stares at her, noting to himself that each and every adventurer is loved by someone and carries those feelings with them, and that he needs to live up to that responsibility. With that in mind, he invites her to go and find the blue elixir together, promising that she will make it back to her mother safe and sound. Smiling, Toru bows with respect and tells the trapmaster she looks forward to working with him. Elsewhere inside a dungeon, a girl destroys a monster and laments that it was so slow. Her adventurer card then rings, informing her it is already time for her to renew her A-rank license. She finds having to spar again a pain, especially since the association branch is far away from her location. Also, she lives in the middle of nowhere and is annoyed at having to help her grandmother around the house as well, so she cannot wait to move to Tokyo. The Holy Sword Party returns to the Adventurers Association HQ, where Ko reports to the president that they have returned from cleanup duty and reduced the unmanaged area in northern Kanto by quite a bit. The weary man thanks them, hoping he can spend some time with his grandson if the monsters behave a little and stay on their side of the gates, and Yukio quietly calls him a geezer as a result. Staring at the Origin Gate, the president declares that it is finally time to strike at the core, remembering the day the portal appeared over Tokyo. Ko asks if it's true that the other gates will close if they clear the Origin Gate, and though he admits it's just a hypothesis, he nonetheless remarks that the mana leaking out of the gate certainly has some effect on the space around it, bluntly stating that he is having them take a gamble with no guarantee it can even pay off. Ko affirms that they will do anything as long as it can help people, and the president thanks her, promising to do everything he can to support them. They have just publicized that they're recruiting supporting parties, but he doesn't know how many will show up, and it doesn't bode well. Yukio is unsurprised, calling the other parties cowards, but Kukuri cryptically states that she is certain people will show up by fall. Meanwhile, Keiichiro and Toru are headed to the association branch to take the license renewal test. The wizard tagged along, needing a license renewal anyway, and the trap master is glad to have someone familiar with the area with him, since he has never been to the Hokiriku branch before. A clerk at the reception desk tells Toru where to go to renew her B-rank license, but is shocked when Keiichiro informs her that he is there to take the A-rank exam. There has never been an A-rank trapmaster before, and he even wants to skip an entire rank, but she sees that he has hit the recommended level, having gained the necessary experience points from the raid. He confirms that he has used an area for high-rank duels several times before, so he is led to a training room and informed that he must secure 3 victories in a row to skip a rank, and can only enter the room once a day, making this a 3-day test. Entering Training Room 1, he deduces that his opponent will either be a full-fledged A-rank or someone else taking the exam, so he will just have to try. Meanwhile, the A-ranked girl from before enters the adjacent training room, wanting to win and be done with the exam quickly. She is shocked to see her opponent is a trap master. With only a few S rankers in Japan, Keiichiro knows that A rankers are among the best of the best, and knows that this is the first hurdle that he must clear to catch up with them. He then sees that his opponent is a fencer named Kazari Kyoko. Fencers are a speed type of vanguard. He's certain that he can defend against her attacks, but knows landing one of his own might be tricky. A voice tells the participants to get ready. Kyoko is still surprised that she is facing a trap master, since despite having fought many of them at the lower ranks, none ever showed up at the A rank exams, regardless of their level. She pays this a little mind in the end, though, confident she just has to avoid the traps to win. When the match starts, Keiichiro sets a fire trap on the floor, and Kyoko believes that he wants to use the textbook tactic of forcing her into the trap by fighting normally. Certain there's no way he can push her around with those noodly arms, the trap master reels from blocking her attack, confirming that she is as strong as he feared, and he proceeds to set an arrow symbol on his body. The fencer is surprised by this, believing that he will get caught up in the trap if she activates it, and Keiichiro sets a second arrow symbol on the ground to catch her off guard. Kyoko barely has any time to react when the trap master darts past her and uses the arrow symbol in his hand to propel her toward the fire trap. But the girl won't give up so easily. She uses her superior speed to jump clear as the trap activates, escaping it in the nick of time and angrily declaring that it was close. As she turns to face Keiichiro, the trap master is amazed at her insane speed and sees that there is no sense in setting any more traps if she can dodge the traps after they're activated. Meanwhile, the fencer recognizes the risk posed by the arrow symbol, planning to attack him from a position where she won't get caught by it, materializing a pair of double-barreled pistols and firing at the trap master. He deflects the projectiles with the arrow symbol, but faced with her overwhelming power, he realizes he cannot let the duel draw out any longer and must push through now. He then combines arrow symbol and slash, sending deadly slashes towards the fencer, but the girl manages to dodge them as well, once again impressing Keiichiro, who then uses the arrow symbol and flame for another attack. Seeing that the trap master can make projectiles by combining the arrow symbol and his other traps, Kyoko changes mindsets, as she realizes she's fighting a wizard, having dealt with more wizards than she can count. The fencer then somersaults above Keiichiro, materializing a storm of blades, launching them in his direction. Caught by surprise, he is about to use another arrow, but she won't let him, successfully striking him with a sword. It's been a while since Keiichiro was pressured this much up close. Kyoko's speed, power, and stamina far surpasses his own. Prepared to deliver the final blow, the girl urges him to give up, but the trap master refuses to yield, knowing that he must make it through this to meet his former companions again. Hard-pressed, he has found just one clue. It's sink or swim.